Welcome to MMA's Q3 webinar on the power of storytelling. I'm Stephanie Vadalero. I serve on the MMA Board of Directors. I'm probably best known for my work at the Recreational Boating and Fishing Foundation, where I worked for 19 years, recruiting new boating and fishing participants. Today, we have a fantastic panel of speakers who are experts in storytelling. You will see them all on your camera now. We've got Jennifer Waters, we've got Steve Govel, and we've got Sean Tracy. We hope you come away from today's webinar knowing how to really connect with your audience, differentiate your brand, and drive engagement and sales. Before we get started, I have a few housekeeping items to go over. Our panelists are each going to present for about 10 to 15 minutes. We're going to hold Q&A until the end, but please feel free to drop any questions or comments that you have in the chat as we're moving through, and then we will visit them at the end. So to get things kicked off today, I'm going to first introduce you to Jennifer Waters. Jennifer is the marketing director at Seato Services International. Jennifer has led award-winning campaigns that have really transformed Seato Services into compelling, story-driven experiences. One initiative she worked on is called Help Starts Here. It really highlighted the expertise and dedication of Seato captains, using authentic storytelling to engage audiences, differentiate the brand, and drive the company's largest growth in 2 decades. Jennifer's going to share with you today how marine marketers can leverage authentic narratives to connect with customers, elevate brand visibility, and create lasting loyalty. So with that, take it away, Jennifer.
Okay, can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay, let me just get all my screens up correctly. Okay, great. Thank you for that introduction. Happy to be here, everybody. So the thing that everyone says to us at Seato is, we love you guys, but we hope we never have to call you guys. Because if you're calling us, it means that there's something wrong with your boat and you probably need help. But having your boat towed is about as sexy as having your car towed. So today I'm going to talk about how we as a brand use storytelling to try and change that perception. So I have about 22 years of experience in marketing and communications across multiple industries with various brands. And establishing or reinforcing brand positioning by understanding brand perception has always been paramount at any brand I've ever worked on. So when I started at Seato in the fall of 2019, there hadn't been a brand photo shoot in a while. The photography was tired and there was virtually no video content. So one of the first things I did was execute a photo shoot, and we squeezed it in literally days before the world shut down in early March of 2020. The first photo shoot set the brand up with the photography and the video we needed to roll out our new advertising campaign for that year, which was called Help Starts Here. And we began our journey of pushing video content on social. In the beginning, the videos were all about Seato, who we are, what we do. Each piece of content was essentially an advertisement rather than storied content, which is the bulk of what we do now. But at the time, that was the first step towards establishing the brand amongst the masses of new boaters that had flooded the industry because of COVID. And the campaign was very well received. So now fast forward a few years, and the industry begins to normalize, and we recognize the fact that we need to reinvent the way we're approaching our customers and our prospects. So we aim to unify our messaging at Seato by shifting from a so-called Seato first approach to focusing on what our members and our potential customers were doing on the water. How were they using their boats? We invested in market research. We surveyed our members. We surveyed our expired members. We dug in to identify what our members were doing on their boats. And then we broke that down into 3 different audience lifestyles that we targeted our content for: the doers and the cruisers, the boundary pushers, and the purpose-driven boaters. A stronger emotional tie to a brand can be formed through either direct customer experience or the perception of customer experience. Our strategy involved connecting with customers in those targeted audiences through aspirational storytelling that would appeal to them. How does our service solve their problem? How are our customers interacting with our brand? And how should we be communicating to them ultimately? See, at CETO, it's always our goal to focus on the tangible and also the intangible benefits of being a CETO member. And we did that. We did that through awesome video content. We created organic social media calendars in-house and planned video content through series or by category. Every year, we prioritized photo shoots to capture the content. And the shoots were so much more than just the CETO boat and captains. We were continually evolving our approach to integrating that human connection. We're always asking ourselves on the marketing team, what is going to make an incredible story? We also never hire actors. We use real captains and real members to get that authenticity in our storytelling. So we flooded our social media pages with beautiful and exciting lifestyle videos and member testimonials, always tying them back to the brand, because I always believe in education on who that brand is, on who you are, and what you do always needs to be integrated into whatever story you're telling for those that don't know who you are and what you do. And then from there, we analyze everything, what worked, what didn't, and we figure out how to do it better next time. And what we saw was that our social media following started growing. Our social media reach quadrupled. We've grown over 6,000 followers on Instagram in just this year alone. We collaborate with influencers to hear their stories and share their content. We literally sent a member of our creative team on a fishing boat with a GoPro and an iPhone to catch 500-pound tunas way, way off the coast of Montauk Point. We interview real people who make their life and their livelihood on the water, and we capture it all on video. We've spent the last few years working really hard to position what some may consider to be just a boat towing company as more than that. We've positioned it as a lifestyle, an on-water community. The captains and the members are the faces who bring this towing company to life. Because the power in the story you're telling as a brand, it's not just what you're selling, it's how your product or service is impacting the people you're selling it to. That's your story. And that storytelling gives the brand personality, and it builds that emotional connection with your customer. We're not just making ads anymore, we're making entertainment. So I put together just a few key takeaways from some of these points that I've made. One, it's about understanding who your customers are, which is always done through research and data. How are you making their life better? How are you able to showcase how they're actually using what you're selling? You always want to reinforce brand positioning by understanding how your customers perceive your brand. 3, capture the content and extend its life. By using it over and over and by cutting different versions, make sure the content you're capturing can tell many, many stories and can have a long lifespan. That will help any marketing department's budget and bottom line. And lastly, it's more about entertainment these days. It's not just advertising. Once that human connection is made, you've accomplished it. So in closing, I just wanted to share one of my favorite videos that we created. It's a compilation of all the photo shoots that we executed from roughly 2020 to roughly 23, 24. But it blends not only the lifestyle, but it blends the CETO brand in a very powerful way. So I wanted to share it with you all. You may have to turn the volume down if it's too loud. I can't really tell the barometer on how loud it's going to be, but I hope you all really enjoy it.
This is the bait that we use to get the bigger fish. Yes, I'm up in the Kennebec at the dead battery. Right, Captain, stand by one. We have a vessel en route to you. I've lost my steering.
Get y'all taken care of, sir.
Zito. Our vessel be coming up.
All right, that's the right stop.
Perfect. This is working out really well.
Yeah, safe boat.
That,
Thank
that's a
you.
wrap.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. Really beautiful campaign. Yeah. And really quick before we move on, I just wanted to chime in with the fact that, boat sales are kind of struggling a little bit right now. And we probably have some folks on the phone who are either manufacturers, dealers, etc. Safety is something that's really important in recruiting and retaining participants. People want to know that they can be safe on the water. And I think that's one of the brilliant things about this is it humanizes and it doesn't scare people who may have a fear of that safety component. So bravo on that. And hopefully others can take a note from that as well. Thank you so much, Jennifer.
Thank you.
Just a quick reminder that we are holding Q&A till the end, but if you have questions that you have to get out of your head, go ahead and post them in the chat anytime or comments along the way. So next up is Steve Govel. Steve is the founder and creative director at Rising Tide Film. This is a boutique agency specializing in high-impact storytelling for the marine industry. Steve has a background in filmmaking and a passion for boating, and he crafts compelling narratives that connect emotionally with audiences and elevate marine brands. His work includes award-winning films for companies like Gritty White Boats, Edencraft, and Short Marine, really focusing on customer stories, brand stories, and event coverage. He also has a podcast, The Rising Tidecast, where Steve shares stories of industry icons and insights on marketing strategies and industry trends that offer some really valuable lessons for marine marketers. So today, Steve is going to talk about how to harness the power of storytelling to connect on an emotional level with audiences and build lasting brand loyalty in the marine sector. Take it away, Steve.
Thanks, Stephanie. Hi, everybody. We'll get into it. You can all see my screen, right? Looks good. Awesome. As an industry, I think we tend to show more of the technical side in our marketing. We sell features, which definitely has their place, or follow trends because we've seen a competitor get a bunch of views on something. Scrolling through social feeds ends up looking pretty similar. Boat videos talking about the latest and greatest features and specs that resemble a real estate video, or trendy videos of an edit of a boat running offshore, which I've created plenty of as well. And I think they're great for entertainment and getting attention, and they're a necessary part of the buyer's journey. But I can't tell you which boat brand posted a reel I watched for 20 seconds last week. And so when our content starts to look the same, it gets easily forgotten because it's missing one thing that makes you remember. That missing element is emotion. It doesn't have to be that way because we're in an industry where there's so much opportunity for brands to differentiate themselves through storytelling. People don't buy boats or services or marina slips or electronics for the features alone. They're buying the feeling of freedom, adventure, connection, safety, and pride. And that's the opportunity in our industry, connecting with people on the real reasons that they buy. So what we're doing now isn't working because too much of our content in the industry is created at the customer. It's created for us, not so much for them. And when we do that, it says we don't really understand them and they tune out or scroll on by. And so there's two big reasons I think stories matter now more than ever. First is that AI is here to stay. So when these amazing tools are available to everyone, that means a ton of decent content can be cranked out with little effort or no expertise. And when anyone can do it, decent content becomes even more invisible. Stories are one of those things that cut through the noise. Trust is the second one. In a recent study, they found 68% of consumers say brand stories influence purchase decisions. So when we think about a change in the economy, buyers still spend, but they're being more selective. They want to spend with brands that they trust and they feel connected to. That's why I believe story-driven content isn't a nice-to-have thing anymore. It's a necessary thing for a brand to stand out, earn trust, and grow in a tighter market. So who am I? Like Stephanie said, I'm Steve from Rising Tide Film, and we help marine brands tell powerful stories that connect with people. We create content that builds trust, increases the value people see in a brand, and attract loyal customers and the best team members. And I've seen firsthand how story-driven content can make someone switch boat brands after years of loyalty because the story finally matched what they valued. So today I'll share a few of my favorite storytelling principles and a framework you can use right away to create content that resonates deeply with your people, content that people actually remember and makes a real impact for your brand. Also, if you notice, I'm from New Jersey, but recently moved back from Australia, so my accent is a bit of a mixed bag, and it only gets weirder and stronger when I'm talking about things I'm passionate about, like storytelling. So today we'll focus on the three things that I believe matter most to tell great stories for your brand. First is your why, which is the purpose behind your business. Second is your who, so understanding your audience at a deeper level. And third is the how, so which are the stories that you tell that connect the why and the who. And when you nail those three things, you stop creating surface level content and start creating stories that influence how people feel about your brand, which drives loyalty, sales, and trust. And the best part is that you're not relying on the latest features. You're creating evergreen content that you'll be able to use for years to come. And there's power behind the purpose of your business. Your why is your business's heartbeat. It's the reason your business exists beyond making money. It's what inspires people to believe in you, to join you, and stay loyal to you. And when you tell stories without knowing your brand's why, you blend in because there's no emotional connection. There's nothing for your people to get behind. You just end up talking about things that commoditize what you do, and your content is easily forgotten. Here are some examples. I took these screenshots yesterday from YouTube. These companies all sell products, but what don't you see? Products. Nike tells stories about human potential, about the struggle, the grind, the triumph for everyone, not just the professionals. The shoes and the gear are there, they're just secondary. Patagonia tells stories about environment that align with their customers, and they build a community around values, not just gear. Customers see themselves in the adventures and the causes. And Yeti tells stories of how their customers use their products on adventures while living the life we aspire to when we buy them. I think in our industry, a great example is Freeman Boatworks. They have a really strong why that's clearly articulated in their marketing and brand story film, The Freeman Story, which we didn't create, but it's amazing. They exist to build the most capable offshore catamarans for serious anglers. And they were born out of Billy's own experience of what didn't work when he was fishing in the Gulf and his passion for fixing it. That's why their brand feels authentic, and they've built a great community around it because they told their story. Customers know Freeman's purpose is rooted in a real fisherman's story solving real world problems. And their Freeman Story film was published on YouTube 7 years ago, and it's used every day. I recommend Simon Sinek's TED Talk and book Start With Why to help you find your why if you haven't done much work around it yet. It's all about the fact that people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. So you can ask questions like, if your business vanished tomorrow, what would your customers lose that they can't replace? Here's an example we did of how we've put a brand's why into practice. So Stories from the Grady Life is a series of customer stories we film and produce each year for Grady White. The videos don't focus on specs at all. The boats are just a platform. The real focus is on the memories made, the confidence and safety they feel, the freedom of boating, and what the Grady ownership experience actually means to them. I'll play this for you now.
One of the things that fishing does teach is patience. You're not always successful with catching, but you're successful because you went out, you had a good day, and you came back.
and you shared the experience with somebody else. As the captain of the boat, it's your responsibility to get them out and get them back. In the ocean, sometimes we were out there and there wasn't many other boats out there besides us and other Grady's. It's amazing when the weather starts to pick up and you see boats starting to head back to the barn, and you look around and, oh, there's a Grady, there's a Grady, there's a Grady out here. So we're all right. It's just because of the Grady itself, the way it just instills confidence in you that you can just enjoy being on the water and not be concerned about, is the boat going to get you back? I don't think about it twice.
So Ken's story is about safety and confidence. He never mentions the foam that makes Grady unsinkable, the CV2 hull that allows him to take on those bigger seas comfortably, or any features that are listed on the website and brochures about safety. Ken's story is all about what he values in life and how the boat makes him feel. And stories like Ken's are shared with their audience to spark curiosity, build trust, and help prospective owners imagine themselves as part of the Grady community. For a long time owners, it even deepens their pride and connection to the brand. So your why is what resonates with your audience, and your why sets you apart in the industry. It's one of those things that makes your business unique. For video content that you can create around your why, consider these bigger brand pieces. First, my first recommendation would be a brand story or founder story. It's the personal journey of the founders, the challenges faced, the inspiration behind starting the business, and you can also ask your customers why they choose you if the founder story isn't there. Behind the scenes is all about the journey, the evolution of the business, the day-to-day operations, highlighting the passion, personalities, beliefs, and hard work that goes into building something great for your customers. And authenticity is really key for these. Customer stories create social proof by using an outside perspective, like your happy customers, having them talk about how your business has impacted their life and the transformation they've experienced with you. And impact content is how and why your business aligns with the causes you believe in, things like conservation or community events. And all of these can be done with big or small budgets, and you can do them in-house or bring in the experts. But I believe your brand story should be one of the ones done by professionals. It's a major film that you'll get years of mileage out of, and a professional can help you find and fine-tune your why, dig into the layers of your story, and tell it in a way that deeply connects to your people. Next is the who, so knowing your audience. So you've got to know your audience to tell the right story. The fact that they're 55 years old, they live in Florida and earn 250 grand a year isn't enough. To tell the right stories that connect and build trust, you need to understand the desires, fears, and values of your people. Who are they and what are they really searching for? Which most of the time isn't what you're actually selling, it's what it does for them. If you don't put your audience first, your content will fall flat. So you can try asking questions like, what do they believe to be true in life? What do they dream about? What do they fear? What proof do they need to see to believe in us? And when you understand who they are and why they were looking for a product like yours in the first place, you can tell stories that matter to them. Because when you tell those stories, people feel like you truly get them. And that's when they feel connected to your brand. So here's the how, the meat and potatoes. This is how we connect and why, the why and the who, to bring your brand storytelling to life. And there are many frameworks you can use. I'll share one today, and I've included a few more for you on the link I'll provide at the end. First things first, though, story is all about change. If there's no change, it's a boring story. Take people on the journey with you. Don't just list the facts. That's like opening a book and skipping to the last chapter. It's boring, doesn't make sense, and no one's actually invested in what you're saying. To find your stories, look in the emotional part of an issue. It's what we connect with as humans. So the framework we'll go through today is a great one called The Hero's Journey. It's simple, it's practical, it's the formula most successful Hollywood movies use, and it's just as effective for business content in any industry. Here's an abbreviated version of how this looks, and I'll give you a marine example as we go through. So there's a character who's the hero, which is your customer, not your brand. So Dave, he's a dad of 2, and he feels disconnected from his kids. And the character has a problem or desire. So Dave wants to give his kids those same sunrise memories on the water that he had with his own dad that he knows were so foundational for their relationship now. There's something in the way of him achieving that. So there's a conflict, but he hasn't bought a boat yet. He's afraid he'll choose the wrong one, wasting money and his weekends while the kids are still at home and time slipping away. Then they meet a guide. So his wife shares a heartfelt video from a dealership. It doesn't feel like marketing. It feels like someone finally told Dave's story. He calls up and sets up an appointment. And then the guide gives them a plan. So the dealership listens. He helps Dave find his ideal boat and invites the whole family on a sea trial to feel the lifestyle and to make Dave feel like he's making the right choice and to avoid failures. So if Dave does nothing, their weekends keep slipping away. The kids stay glued to their screens, and his hopes of creating those memories and traditions are lost and ends in success. So he says yes to the boat, the kids love it, and they start making those memories he was wishing for. They reel in their first fish, Dave's happy as a clam. So this isn't a story about what brand boat he bought. It's about connection. And this framework will work whether you're selling a high-touch service, a marina membership, electronics, insurance, or a boat club. Just plug in your customer as the hero, their desire, their fears, conflict, and your role as the guide. Here's a quick story about the power of story-driven content. I heard from a dealership I work with regularly at a recent strategy meeting. A seasoned boat buyer was set to upgrade to a new model, the latest release from a brand he'd been with for years. But the night before, a video came up on YouTube of a dealership that he and his wife really connected with. It was the brand story film, the story of two brothers, their connection to boating, what they believe to be true in life, and why they exist as a business. What they said in the video connected with them and their values. He and his wife went down the YouTube rabbit hole and watched more videos from this dealership. The next day, they went to the dealership, met the team, and ended up buying a boat from them, from the rival brand that they were so close to buying just a few days before, and ended up switching brands after years of loyalty. When the dealership asked them why us, they didn't mention specs, warranties, discounts, or anything like that. He said, "We felt your passion, like we knew you, and you're the kind of people we want to do business with." That's the power of a well-told story. Some other frameworks that are my favorites, which you can find on the website link with more details I'll share at the end, uses 6 plot points. So it's a hook, conflict, initiation, journey, resolution, and jab. And a great one also is the but therefore framework that Trey Parker uses. It's all about keeping people interested with your story with cause and effect to avoid being boring and sounding like a run-on sentence by listing event after event. I'll share also some of my favorite AI tools with you because AI is the best and the worst. AI will not write a masterpiece story for your brand, trust me. And please, please, please don't just copy and paste what it spits out. We can all tell. But what I've found it helps really well with is brainstorming, moving faster, and getting organized. And so some of the tools, here are the tools I use to help tell better stories that are available to everyone. ChatGPT is the biggest one. Most days I talk with it as much as my family, and aside from parenting lessons and explaining math problems, it also helps me turn really messy transcripts from interviews into draft narratives or brainstorm new angles of stories I didn't think of before. Eddy AI is a new program that's out that connects to your editing platform and instantly keywords your B-roll, pulls quotes, and develops draft stories from you, or for you, sorry. Sandcastles AI is a great platform that researches what's working with bigger successful counts and drafts scripts for your content against those proven patterns for things you want to talk about. VO3 generates realistic B-roll when footage is missing. If we have a stock footage or a rendering, we can add a little bit of motion to it or add some additional moving elements. And Nano Banana is Google's newest image generator, and we use that for realistic different angles and building shot lists and ideas. So use AI to do your heavy lifting so you can spend time on what AI can't do, which is the human part, your deep brand knowledge, your understanding of emotions, and describing those real life experiences and feelings. Also, I love to experiment with all the new tech and platforms since it's moving so fast. So if you have questions or ideas about how to use it and how to help transform your content, I'd love to chat with you about it. So there's so much opportunity in our industry to tell better stories. Every piece of content doesn't need to be a story. There's a massive need to be entertained with those flashy reels, memes to send our friends, and sunset videos on the ride home. But those things won't make your brand unique. They don't create trust and loyalty, and they don't show people what being there feels like. Stories do that. Whether you're in service, boats, marinas, electronics, insurance, or clubs, The principle is the same. Tell real stories about the things that your customers actually care about. Because I've seen that when your brand does that consistently, you build a community of people that trust, connect, and believe in your brand and stay loyal to you for a really long time. Thank you for listening. I hope that was helpful. Here's a link to all the things I promised. You can go to risingtidefilm.com/MMA, put in your info and access everything. And if also what I shared resonated with you and you want to know more, you can drop me a line and book a call there too. That's it.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Steve. That was fantastic. And both of you hit on this, but to follow up, I think there's this phrase I like to use, like, if you can see it, you can be it. And I think in this case, if you can feel it is even more powerful, right? If someone sees a story that they can put themselves in, they're more likely to take the bait, if you will. So thank you so much for that. Again, if you all have any questions that you need to get out of your head, go ahead and put them in the chat. And we will reserve some time at the end here to go through those. Thank you so much. Okay, to round out today's panel of experts, I'm going to introduce Sean Tracy. Sean is the founder and creative director of Sean Tracy Associates. He is an award-winning branding expert with more than 25 years of experience helping national brands like MasterCard, McDonald's, CNN, A&E, and Bigelow Tea connect with audiences through powerful storytelling. He was named an Adweek Creative All-Star and combines deep creative strategy with real-world impact, from boosting brand loyalty for century-old institutions to launching disruptive campaigns that outperformed larger competitors. Now, Sean also has a deep connection to boating. He is a licensed merchant marine captain and lifelong boater, bringing a really unique perspective on how authentic, human-centered storytelling can really strengthen marine brands, build trust, and create lasting customer connections. Sean, the floor is yours.
Great. Thank you so much, everybody. We've got some great info and tips from both Steve and Jennifer. I hope I can round this out from another perspective. So anyways, being able to share your story that's authentic to your brand, I think is what's really important. One of the things that I was going to talk about or show you is that I opened up my subscription to Southern Boating Magazine and as I was preparing to do this presentation, and I noticed that the first 3 ads, which I was going to show you, are all the first 4 or 5 ads, which were either double truck spreads of across the entire magazine, were a boat on just a boat on the water with a brand, and there was really no story there. And as you think about great marketers from other industries, they always are telling a story, and most of them will tell the same story year after year after year and differentiate what their story is. In this case, for instance, if I asked you if there's an automobile that you would think has something to do with this, with a story about safety, what would you say? Anybody want to throw that in the chat? Oh, no, somebody said Kia, but it's not Kia. No, it's not Subaru. Yes, it's Volvo. So I was going to show you an old Volvo ad from the 60s or 70s and how they show a car that's crashed on the trunk and where the engine compartment is, but the passenger compartment is completely safe. And that's really their story. That's a story that they own. Now, whether they are the safest cars or not is a different story, but they own safety in people's minds. And so my question is, what do you own and what does your brand own? How do you differentiate yourself? You market yourself as safe. I think that, Jennifer got into the safety issue for Cito, and that was great. And I think one of the things I was going to show you is a couple of videos that we created for different clients that differentiate them. And why I want to talk about video is that it is really the gold in terms of social media and other types of marketing media. It's what people really want. And it's one of the best places to tell a story, or you have a better advantage to tell a story because you have motion pictures and sound and music, and all of these things can go into it. So one of the things that is happening now is that people are using their mobile apps and they're on their phone all the time. So, why video? Is because that's the thing that people remember and see and want to look at. People have shorter attention spans. They're saying the average attention span now is less than 8 seconds. And people are much more likely to watch a video as they skim around through things. So 20%, we're talking about recall here, what people remember. 20% of people remember what they hear. 30% of people remember what they see. And 70% of people remember what they see and hear. So that's why video is great. 73% of people say that their phone is always with them. They check their phones more than 150 times a day. And video accounts for 90% of the mobile moments or interactions spent on their apps. So video allows you to tell people who you are, what you do, how you do it, and why you. So I had a number of, unfortunately, I'm not able to show you some spots that wanted you to see some videos that show different techniques. But one of them is talked about emotion, and Steve talked a lot about emotion and creating emotion in your videos. And I think it's very important. As Steve said, people are not just listening to the features and benefits. They want to be touched, especially with a purchase like a boat or something that's relatively large and an important decision. They need to be moved. They need some emotion associated with that. And the other thing that is really effective, that is also cost efficient, is user-generated content. So if you can, especially in social media, access video footage and B-roll of your customers or your potential customers and their lifestyle and what they do, and you're able to repurpose user-generated content back into social media and craft a story around it, it can be great. I had an example of that, but something that we did for a client. I think at this point, I'm sorry I can't show you all of these great videos and things, but somehow the technology has failed me. I'll turn it back over to Stephanie. So thank you so much for listening. Sorry I couldn't show you, but next time.
Thank you, Sean. Honestly, the technology has failed me too, for sure. Maybe not today, but it has. I love the stat that you gave that showed the build between what people read and what people see, and that the highest percentage of what people remember is when they see and hear it. That's so powerful. And I've certainly seen that as true in the marketing work that I've done. Okay, so we have come to our Q&A section here. And Catherine, do you want to jump in on this, or do you want me to? Okay, thank you.
I can jump in real quick. There were a few questions here. Let me scroll back up. And the first one was specific to CETO. The question was, CETO almost feels unnecessary. Almost feels necessary. Sorry. It's kind of assumed that boaters.
I was like, whoa.
No, sorry, I misread that. Kind of assume that boaters have, some service, either CETO, Boat US, some kind of towing service. Was your video content meant to pull people away from the competition, in this case, Boat US, or was it aimed at attracting people who don't yet have towing coverage? And is there a difference in that storytelling approach?
To answer that, yes. It was absolutely, so we basically split our stuff up into verticals. So that would be a different vertical. Competition is different from newer boaters that come in. So we when it comes to our competition, we try and educate against our competition. And sometimes that's in storytelling, but that's more in like advertising. When it comes to appealing to new boaters or boaters that could be with our competition that are just in the industry, we try and position ourselves. And the best example I can give is, we are a second generation family run company. We're privately owned. Our competition is owned by Geico. They have very deep pockets, right? So how do you get ahead of that, or how do you appeal to a customer base where budgets are completely different? And the way we did that is to position ourselves as the Yeti as opposed to, an igloo, right? We have to differentiate ourselves by the stories and the cool factor, I would say, is how we actually tried to go about it. But we definitely position our storytelling in certain aspects based off different verticals. So one of them could be new boaters into the industry that don't know who we are and they don't know what we do. Some of them could be based off our competition. And that, it might be Boat US, but it could be boat insurance. That's a huge competitor for us. So we have to go against some of these attributes that are differentiators that we offer. Why would you need an on-water assistance membership when you have towing insurance on your insurance policy? They're very, very different. We offer different things, and those are more educational advertising. I think the storytelling piece of it comes in more in that kind of brand perception and boating industry. I'm like finding a lack of words, but the perception in the industry of who we are based off of, our competitors. I hope that answered that question. Sea Serpent, tell me if I didn't.
That's great. Thank you. Any tricks on getting a former customer to sit and be recorded? Jennifer, I think this was in your presentation, but Steve, I'm curious if you have had, in your experience, interviewing a former customer or trying to sort of convince someone to tell a story that's maybe like defected from the brand.
Yeah, it's definitely hard to convince someone that doesn't want to do it. It's just a matter of choosing a pool of people that would be great for what you want to accomplish. I think there's a bunch of factors that help when you're looking for someone and when you're talking to them. Timing is a huge thing. Timing it at the most exciting part of their journey, or the most impactful, or where they had a transformation, and having the ask then is really an important thing. Knowing your people, who they are, and getting the ask from the person that's closest to them. So it could be the salesperson that has the relationship, not so much the marketing department or something like that. So it comes from a different place. I think also it's more like letting them know how important this is. If they love your brand, then they'd want to contribute to how other people feel about your brand and what you do, and share that with them. And that depends on the type of person, obviously. No pressure, letting them know that it's just conversational, that you don't have to say the right things, but kind of taking the guard down a little bit, that everything's edited, offering a thank you of something if that helps, and sharing some past examples of them. Sometimes that's a good thing and a bad thing, because they could feel pressure to perform, but also showing, hey, no, this is real, it's authentic, and we could do the same thing with you if you're open to it.
Great. Jennifer, anything to add here? I think you've had some experience here too.
Yeah, no, I think Steve totally covered it. I'm sorry, I was just focusing in on a question that just came in that has to do with that, about the approach customer testimonial reels that feel more like storytelling. because that's something that we get challenged with if we are shooting a photo shoot, right? And we have members and we're like, let's talk about the brand. And like, you never know who's going to be able to be on film or who's not going to be able to be on film, and you don't know how much lead in you need. It's hit or miss a little bit. I mean, I think I said in my presentation, we use real captains and real actor and real members. So even our captains, sometimes they speak so well on camera and sometimes they're terrible, right? But I mean, they don't need to be great on camera. They're captains. But members as well. I found it just, I mean, we always go with wherever we're shooting, it's really the connections between people we work with, and we're really just pulling in like friends and family and like, and hey, we're doing this shoot. Would you mind coming down? And people have an alignment with our brand that they're like, I love Cito or I hate Cito, but usually it's, I love Cito. Yeah, I'd be more than happy to give an interview, that kind of thing. It's always off the cusp. I never know what we're going to get.
I can jump in on that a little bit. These questions are coming in. I see them in the chat. Sophia asked about how would you approach customer testimonial reels that feel more storytelling? They film them at flotillas. But it's more Q&A style. So I worked with a very famous documentary filmmaker, Albert Maysles, for about 5 years in New York City. And he was ruthless about, filming people in their natural environments, not asking them to sort of step out of their natural environment, or he didn't even like to bring a light in or move a light or anything. He was crazy, but it worked because you get people's really more natural performances in their own space, in their own place that they're comfortable. So to bring a bunch of people to a flotilla or something and, shuffle them in and out of a chair or interview, it's going to feel like that. It's going to feel like it's a little more stifled. So if you can spend the time and the money to go to them in their place and, film them on their boat or on, whatever, I think that's going to work out sort of the mass.
Agree with that, Sean. Absolutely.
Yeah, totally. I think also when you're asking questions too, it helps to be present instead of going through a list of questions. If you have having a direction or a North Star of like, this is where I want to take this conversation with them, having it be conversational, like digging into layers as you're asking, you uncover different things. Just even trying to focus on a specific moment while they're comfortable talking to you rather than talking about everything, lets you get deeper and get to that connection piece, which is going to make a huge difference in how people relate to the video when you're finished.
Great answers. The only other question I have that hasn't been addressed is how often were you shooting and how far out were you planning content? Jennifer, this might be directed at you for your campaign, but I mean, everyone else jump in, with projects you've worked on as well.
So as a brand, we try to prioritize 1 to 2 photo shoots a year. And when I say 1 to 2 photo shoots a year, that might be 1 to 2 larger photo shoots a year. Now we're kind of getting into a place where we might do 5 or 6 smaller shoots. I think I mentioned in my presentation, like literally sending my, senior creative out on a boat to catch tunas off the shore of Montauk. We capture content however we can. I do think it's so important in order to tell stories to really budget as marketers photo shoots and getting quality brand photography on whatever that means to your brand, but getting new footage, new video, however that comes to be. We find it a blend of doing our own photo shoots, or, I mean, it is as simple as, for us, throwing someone on a boat and capturing this kind of content, working with influencers. The thing I took out of my presentation is part of our strategy is also working with like-minded brands. So we work with like-minded brands we feature their stuff in our photo shoots, they feature our stuff. And I think as a social media strategy, you get a whole assortment of content that way. And that just makes it easier on the budget. We plan out maybe 6 months in advance to answer that part of the question. And it really depends on how we can shoot, what we're shooting, and what we're aiming to shoot. Some shoots, and we never know, some shoots we can pull off in 2 months and shoot flats fishing in the Keys and do that kind of stuff. Some shoots are 3 or 4 days in Daytona or Cape May, and we get a total rain out. You really can never tell, as you all know, shooting on the water. It's such a crapshoot, but you do what you can, and you cross your fingers and you take everything you possibly can. But I will say, from our perspective and our strategy, is we cut and cut and cut. So everything we've shot from 2020, when I started to now, we've made, I can't even tell you how many different reels, and 12, we cut them into 12 seconds. We cut them into 15 seconds. We cut them into 30 seconds. And then the rare occasions we'll make stories on 60 seconds. But you take everything, you shoot everything, and then you cut it 1,000 different ways.
Great answer. Thank you. All right, we're coming up on time here. Stephanie, do you want to give us a little closing and what's next?
Sure, I'm happy to do that. And for those who submitted questions we didn't get to, we can try to follow up with you individually so that those don't go hanging. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. We're really glad you could make it and hope you learned something new. We are going to be generating a recording of this that we will post to YouTube, and we'll email you a link. That email will also include in it a very brief survey that we would love for you to fill out, as it helps us know how we did and how we can do better in the future. Hope to see you at the next MMA webinar. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Guys.